So today, you're about to become a shot-making extraordinaire. And I know a lot of you are getting ready to click off this video because you don't feel like you have the skill set or a golf swing that's in a position to where you can start to control your trajectory or control your curvature. But I want you to hang in there because I think a lot of you are going to be very surprised to see how many shots can actually come out of your golf bag when you learn what I'm about to teach you as far as the functions of your lead shoulder are concerned. Now, I know a lot of you have heard me talk about the importance of understanding the lead shoulder is the primary pivot point in the golf swing. And the lead shoulder is going to help you determine where the low point in the swing shape is going to be. But believe it or not, the way the shoulder functions in the downswing can actually manipulate your swing direction and it can manipulate your angle of attack. And when you have those two things kind of rolling through your brain, you can make little small adjustments to your setup and little small adjustments to how the shoulder functions in your release pattern, and you can start to hit the golf ball in many different ways. So today, I'm going to teach you how to get your lead shoulder to function properly so that you can help yourself develop more forward shaft lean, you can take lean out, you can start launching the golf ball higher with your longer clubs if you want to, or you can start hitting little small draws or little baby fades all day long just by understanding how to get the shoulder to function properly. All right, so this is a really fun drill. This is a drill that you can use on the driving range the next time you go out, but I want to really start off on step number one by building a stock impact position and a stock release that's going to have you hitting what would be considered your ideal shot shape. Now, at impact, what we're looking for is we want our head to be lower than where it was at address. We want our shoulders to be square and our hips to be slightly open. And we want the shaft to be leaning forward. Now, how we move through this position in an arm independent release, what you'll notice is that the spine starts to lean back and the shoulders start to steepen as the arms start to extend and the club goes to a toe-up position. Now, there's obviously a lot that goes into that movement. And the reason why the spine tilts back like it does and the shoulder planes steepen is because that's what's helping you solidify the hand and arm path working in that direction, but it's also helping you shallow out the bottom of the swing arc and get the speed out of the swing. Let me explain something to you. In an arm independent release, okay, when the hands and arms get down in front of the body and we start to slow everything down, the handle is going to start moving vertically. It's going to move back up and away, and the club head's going to go down here really fast. That is something that we want to do with our body functions, not our hands and our arms. What we're really trying to do when we become good manipulators of our shot shape is we don't want to do that from our hands and our arms. We want to make little small adjustments that go a long ways, if you know what I'm saying. And how we do that, you're going to see when I start to manipulate my spine through my stance width and manipulate the position of my lead shoulder where it is when I start to release the club to control the path. Now, what we're going to do in step number one is we're going to do a little three-piece impact drill. We're going to be starting out by just working from 9 to 3 here today. We want to get really good at smaller swings. And I want you to have a golf ball down on the ground that's going to be off of your left ear. So stock stance width. We're going to make a little swing back to 9 o'clock. And we're going to come right back down into an impact position. We got the shaft leaning forward, head back in behind the golf ball. Tilt your spine back and extend your arms. I want you to do a number of reps to make sure you're in a perfect spot. Square shoulders, shaft leaning forward, head behind the ball, and through. Make sure your head is slightly lower than where it was at address. Club is going to be toe up, square to toe up. If you get proficient at it, you can start doing that whole downswing piece as one unit. So you're keeping the head and the chest back while the arms extend over to a toe-up position. So this is just building our stock ball flight. If you feel like you've got good command of it, then you're going to warm up by hitting 10 shots, making sure that you can feel everything you're doing properly. Okay? So good mid-trajectory shot. Had a little bit of tiny right to left in it, so my path was probably a little bit more in to out. So my shoulders may have been a little bit closed. If you're not proficient with that and you're not getting any success with that particular movement, then there's no reason for you to go to step number 2. I would go watch some of the release videos. I would make sure that you get your body into a good spot with good sequence, and then you can come back and then you can get into the fun stuff as we get into step number 2. Step number 2. So this is the step where I'm going to start to control the trajectory, but doing this in a way where I start to manipulate it through my stance width. Now, if I were to go into my stock stance width, okay, and I were to back down to that impact position, well, you can see I have a fair amount of shaft lean here with my head staying back and behind the ball. But if I were to take that same movement and I were to narrow up my base and try to feel like my spine is more upright at impact, then you can see that I'm going to have the ability to take more loft off the golf club. I'm going to try to keep the release and the feel of the arms and the shoulders extending in this position onto the lead side, just like I did in step number 1. So we're going to do some reps with a narrow base, working on our 3-piece drill, impact. Okay. Go back to impact because that was awful. Impact, spine leaning. Okay, now I'm going to start making some swings. Okay, and I can start hitting some shots, seeing how I did. Okay, so I hit a much lower golf shot there. I hit it a touch on the heavy side. So stock stance width, I'm going to come in about an inch on both sides. Impact, tilt, toe up. Okay, much lower ball flight. So in that same context, I can go from that narrow base now, and I can actually go to a wider base than my stock shot. Ball position remains exactly the same. And now I can start hitting the ball a lot higher because I'm going to have my tilt start to get induced a little bit earlier, which is helping me not take so much loft off the golf club. Okay, ball was much higher, a little bit thin. A little bit wider, I'm not going crazy here. Really good high ball flight there. So step number 3 is where we're going to start to create little bits of curvature. Now we can do this a couple different ways, but I like to keep the ball position consistent and kind of manipulate the hand and arm path just by thinking about having the lead shoulder feel like it's pointing a little bit more out towards right field, down the target line, or having it feel a little bit more open at the point of contact. And you can drill this kind of like I'm about to drill it right now just to give yourself a feel. Now I'm going to start out with a fade bias on a stock trajectory, and I'm just going to turn back, shift left, getting my shoulder to be a little bit more open, and then I'm going to release, toe up on that side. So I'm going to do one good practice rep. So now I'm going to try to hit a couple draws. So I'm going to come down with my shoulder feeling like it's pointed a little bit out towards right field. Okay, got that feel in my brain. That's a fun one there. Good mid-trajectory draw. I can do the same thing now. I can start to close up my stance just a little bit to keep the trajectory down. Lead shoulder a little bit closed. The big key is not to manipulate anything in the release. Manipulate it from the body. That was a really good one there. Where the shoulder is pointed and with your stance width, you now have the ability to be able to control the ball flight and the curvature. If you want to keep the loft off the golf club in a stock width, or maybe you're trying to steepen up the angle of attack on a stock width for a particular shot, you can certainly try to keep your lead shoulder lower and get a little bit out in front of it. That's perfectly fine. that usually pushes like a little trap cut out there. These are all things that I want all of the golfers out there to be empowered with. Knowing that you don't have to make big adjustments to yield different results. You keep the release the same, you build a good release, make little adjustments to your body positions, and now think about all the shots you can start taking out of the golf course. You can start finding different locations to put the ball into, different ways to get those shots to get into those difficult spots on the greens. So you can call a shot here. You could say, all right, I want a high fade, wider stance, shoulders a little bit more open, lead shoulder open, release. I can kind of feel where the hands and arms are going there. Keep the release the same. High fade all day. Stock fade, so stock position. It's good there.